I'm in the big leagues, told him don't miss me. Ballin' like Houston, ayy, feeling like Whitney. I need a bag, bruh, send it through quickly. I'm making his dog, like I'm in the big leagues. Told him that I gotta go, dog. I'm riding a road, y'all. I think that I'm back in my bag now. So I need that go, y'all. Got hits when he throwing the fastball. Just too quick for it, peeling off like the whip orange. Seen they effort, this piss poor, I got too much.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Another Turnover, the basketball podcast where a basketball fan with zero basketball credibility gives his opinions on what's going on in the NBA. Opinions that nobody asked for. As always, I am your host, Mr. Chris Aaron Murphy, a.k.a. Aaron. And ladies and gentlemen, let's just jump right into it. Folks, happy Friday. I hope you had an amazing, tremendous week this week. We all know what has arrived. March Madness, the National Men's and Women's Basketball Tournament has arrived. Better known, like I said, as March Madness. So, like I mentioned in earlier shows, I want to give some love to college hoops. So today's episode, we are going to heavily discuss some March Madness. So let's get right into it. So when you're listening to this, obviously this will be Friday, you're listening to this, but the NCAA men's basketball tournament started yesterday. Like I said, more commonly known as March Madness. Now, this is one of my favorite times of the year. I mean, it's literally nonstop basketball for a basketball fan like myself. It's like, how much better can you get than that? So it's games, I believe, so recording this Thursday, games started Thursday morning about 11 o'clock, and this weekend are going to go till about, 11 o'clock, Central Time, with 11 o'clock p.m. Central Time with the West Coast games that are usually on later in the night. So now, like I said, with day one already upon us, day one is in the books when you're listening to this, I want to make my bracket public. And for better or worse, I'm just going to go through a little bit of it. I'm not going to go through in depth. This episode as a whole might be a little bit shorter than some of the other episodes, but for better or worse, I'm going to talk about my bracket. So let's take a look. I'm going to go through the ESPN Tournament Challenge application and just kind of look at a few upsets that I thought, some interesting matchups, my Final Four pick, and kind of go region by region. So let's do it. Let's jump right into it. So let's start off in the West region. So West region, one of the upsets that I think that I picked for my main bracket, and my buddies Preston and Trevor can verify this because they're in a group with me with this bracket, so I'm not going to get on here and lie. But I've got Notre Dame, the 11th seed, beating Bama as the 6th seed in the first round, knocking out Bama. Now, Notre Dame had, there was a play-in team. They played Rutgers a couple days ago, from when you're listening to this, beat them in double overtime. Now, I was talking to my dad about, the play-in situation and how they basically do it now with the NCAA. You have 4 play-in games for those teams for those final 4 spots in the NCAA tournament. And the teams that play in, honestly, I feel like that kind of helps them. It helps them kind of get that first tournament feel in. You can kind of get those first game jitters out of the way. And so long term, I mean, if you remember correctly, last year, UCLA, they were an 11th seed, and I believe they were a play-in team as well. And they made it all the way to the Final Four. I think that extra game in the long term really, really does help teams be prepared for their first actual NCAA tournament game. So I think that is going to be, I think that's going to be an upset. 11-6 seed. Now, I mean, if I'm being completely honest with, the way teams that look, every seed has been beaten in the first round by this point. We had Virginia, for the first time ever a couple of years ago, lost as a number 1 to a number 16. Not saying I don't think that's going to happen again this year, but anybody can be beaten in the NCAA tournament. And that's what I think why people gravitate to it so well. I know that's why I gravitate towards it so well, is because anybody can be beat. So an 11 beating a 6 is really not that far-fetched. I mean, 14 beating a 3 is not that far-fetched. 13 beating a 4 is not that far-fetched. But still an upset in terms of seeding. So 11-6, I've got Notre Dame beating Bama. Now, if you know me in real life, for college, I am a Duke fan. Duke is in this region. I mean, I'll be honest, I'm a Duke fan, but I am also a realist when it comes to sports. I do not feel confident about this group that we have for Coach K's last season. I really do question this team's mental toughness. So if you think about it, that last game, Cameron Indoor Stadium, your last game that Coach K is ever going to have against North Carolina and you basically wet the bed. Like you killed North Carolina just a week or so before that, maybe a couple weeks before that, and then you lose last game, Cameron Indoor Stadium against North Carolina. One of the greatest rivalries in sports, you lose that game. You have Virginia Tech that you beat earlier in the season as well in the ACC tournament just this past week or last week, and you lose that game. And no disrespect to Virginia Tech or North Carolina, because I think North Carolina is killing Marquette if they haven't won by this point. But Duke should have won those games. I mean, they were the better team. They still are technically the better team talent-wise. But they should have won those games. So it makes me really question their mental toughness. They should beat CS Fullerton. Should being the operative word in the first round. I think they will. But a potential second-round matchup, let's say MSU, Michigan State, led by Tom Izzo, let's say they win. I can see them getting bounced in the round of 32. I can see them going home this weekend. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But I don't know. Duke's kind of scaring me. But let's take a look in the East. Let's talk about the East region in the NCAA tournament. Another 11-6 matchup. I think I've got a lot of 11s beating 6s. I just realized. But I've got Virginia Tech, the team I just spoke about, beating Texas. I've actually got Virginia Tech going to the Sweet 16, so making it to the second weekend. They've got some really good momentum with, like I just mentioned, their ACC tournament win. Without them winning the ACC tournament, they more than likely would not have been in the national tournament. So shout out to them. They have played well. Some of the better matchups in this region, like I just mentioned, the 8-9 matchup is North Carolina and Marquette. I was expecting that to be a good game, but I mean, I have the score pulled up right here. It's 38-69 right now. Let me refresh that just to make sure. Yeah, 38-69 North Carolina with about 14 minutes left in the second half. So unless by some act of God, North Carolina's winning that game. So definitely not the way I expected that game to go. Shout out to North Carolina. Ugh, sounds terrible saying that. But I've also got, in that same region, I've got St. Mary's and Indiana, the 5-12 matchup. I've got the 12 seed Indiana beating St. Mary's in that first round. Indiana's got some pretty good momentum as well. Struggled throughout the gate. I think they had some injuries earlier in the year, but they have definitely got some momentum and picked it up recently. So I got Indiana knocking off St. Mary's in that first round matchup in the East region. But let's go to the South region. South region, we have a number, again, this game has already completed. The 11 seed University of Michigan beating Colorado State in this first round. That final score, I don't have it pulled up here, but they just beat them after being down 15 points in the first half. Pretty incredible comeback. Whatever Juwan Howard said to that team at halftime, he needs to do that every single game because Michigan came out, played really, really well, and showed why they deserve to be in the tournament because they were definitely a bubble team. A lot of people expected them, to be one of the first 4 teams out. But pretty incredible run in that second half by the Michigan Wolverines. In that same region, you also have the 10th seeded Loyola Chicago taking on 7th seed Ohio State. I'm going to go with the upset in that one as well, Loyola Chicago, mainly because, we all remember their Cinderella run to the Final Four a couple years ago, Sister Jean as, their team mascot and whatnot. That was an incredible run that they had. They also had a pretty decent run a couple years ago, too. I think they made the Sweet 16, if I remember correctly. Sweet 16 or Elite Eight. I know they played in the second weekend. But nobody can forget, that Final Four run from a few years ago. So that's the main reason why. Also, too, I remember a couple years ago I had Ohio State going pretty far in the NCAA tournament, and they let me down. So haven't quite got over it. So that's why I'm picking them to get upset. 10-7 is not a huge upset, but an upset nonetheless. But last region that I want to go through in the NCAA tournament, I want to go talk about obviously the Midwest region. I got to pick in the 8-9 matchup. Not much of an upset, like I said. The seeds are 1 seed apart, but I got to go Creighton over San Diego State just because I was born and raised in Omaha. Everybody who knows me in real life knows that. Born and raised in Omaha. Dad got his master's degree from Creighton. I got into Creighton. Didn't go. It was too expensive, but nonetheless, I always got to root for the Creighton Blue Jays hometown team for myself. So I've got them beating San Diego State. Now, if they win, they would end up playing, if Kansas wins their first round matchup, which as a number 1 seed they would end up playing Kansas in that round of 32. I'm a little biased, but could they beat Kansas? Maybe there's a shot. Creighton played pretty well overall in the Big East tournament. I know they're a 9 seed, so I mean, not, I feel like they should have been higher, maybe a 6 or 7. But Creighton played pretty well in the Big East, and I think they can hang with Kansas if they meet them in the second round. I'm not picking them. I did pick Kansas to beat Creighton, if I'm being honest. But, hey, who knows? It could happen. But now this one, as I was writing the show, this game was going on, and this game is now over. Iowa, and who did they play? Richmond. Man, I should have known. A buddy of mine told me, he's like, you should have known better than to trust Iowa. And yeah, I picked Iowa to go to the Final Four. I'm just going to put that out there. I picked Iowa to go to the Final Four, and they lost to Richmond, unfortunately. I'm pretty devastated. That was like I said, I had them going pretty far. Trying to see the scores from earlier. If I can pull it up here, I can see what they lost by. It was a close game. I know. I mean, it was pretty much back and forth. They were down, I think, 1 or 2 points at half. Ended up going down by a pretty decent amount, by about roughly 8 points in the second half. And yeah, so they lost. I mean, my brackets, there's still hope for it. I didn't have Iowa in the championship game, but yeah, it was bad. Yeah, I got the final score finally pulled up here. 67, Richmond, Iowa, 63. That was a 12-5 matchup. So an upset for sure, and I'm very sad about that. But I guess I didn't learn my lesson when I was putting the brackets together, because in the same Midwest region, I have Iowa State beating LSU, which is an upset. I believe that game is tomorrow. That game is tomorrow at 6:20 Central. That is the 6 and 11 matchup. Iowa State being the 11 seed. We'll see if the Cyclones can represent their state better than the Hawkeyes. I don't feel confident about that one bit, but we'll see what happens. I think LSU, they might, scandal with the coach that's happened with the recruiting violations and whatnot, could be a bit of a distraction for them. So I don't expect them to beat Iowa State in that first round. But hey, we'll see. We'll see what happens. But so I already touched on it. My final 4 picks. Out of the West region, I'm going to go with, number 1 ranked Gonzaga. Gonzaga right now is in a close one. I've actually got it on the TV as I'm recording here. 64-58 against, who is this they're playing? Georgia State. That's 116. So Georgia State's hanging tough with Gonzaga. Gonzaga is 9 minutes left, so it should be pretty interesting. But hopefully they win this game. I've got them going to the Final Four as well. I have, out of the East region, I have the 2-seeded University of Kentucky coming out of there. South region, number 1 ranked Arizona, University of Arizona. I've got them in the Final Four. And then, like I said, out of the Midwest region, the 5th-seeded Iowa Hawkeyes, which have now, by this point, been eliminated, which is wonderful. But my championship game, I have Gonzaga and Arizona, so 2 powerhouses. So hopefully that is what it ends up being. Arizona, I have picked as my champion for my main bracket. I made a few brackets, but this is my main one, and I've got Arizona winning. So on a scale of 1 to 10, my confidence level, if you told me my confidence, or asked me what my confidence level was for the Final Four, I'd put it at a 1. I am not confident whatsoever. I mean, the odds of picking a perfect bracket are essentially 0. Like, I actually looked up the statistical odds for, my fellow nerds. Specifically, you have a 1 in 9.2 quintillion chance of picking every single game and every single pick right in the March Madness NCAA National Tournament. For some perspective, the odds of winning the Powerball, like the lottery, are 1 in 292 million. So you have significantly better odds of winning the Powerball than you do picking a perfect bracket for the NCAA tournament. So all in all, I say that to say bracket pools and challenges and whatnot, they are fun. But hey, no one's ever picking a bracket that's 100% correct. I mean, even if you say you do, you're lying. Like, there's no way. There's no way. So, but that is what I've got for the Final Four for NCAA March Madness, the love I want to show. March Madness, like I said, my favorite time of year, and I am really looking forward to the next couple weekends to see what magic moments that we are going to get from the NCAA tournament. But before we move on to the next segment, I do want to talk about, y'all know I got to talk about Leatherbrain. So I got to take a moment to tell you about the fantasy football podcast out there. Leatherbrains is the perfect mix between information and entertainment, and most importantly, will give you a leg up in your fantasy football leagues. Every episode is full of fun and laughs, and the advice that Hunter and Matt give is incredible. They will help you tremendously in both your dynasty and redraft league. So the show is a must listen. Like these two dudes I went to high school with, they are funny, they are charismatic, and they really, really know their stuff. So search for Leatherbrains with a Z on YouTube or on your favorite podcast app today, and I promise you, you will not regret it. But let's transition. Let's talk about the NBA, the main thing that we are all here for. So I just want to just talk about the scoring output that we've seen roughly over the past month. Like, the league is in really, really good hands. Like, we have to talk about the insane scoring outputs that we have seen in the month of March, and even some before that I want to highlight as well. So March 5th, I got to give a shout out. LeBron James dropped 56 in a win against Golden State. Jason Tatum, the next day versus Brooklyn, dropped 54. Kyrie Irving on March 8th against Charlotte put up 50 points. And then LeBron James again put up 50 points on the 11th. And which was the next one? Kevin Durant on the 13th, Kyrie Irving's teammate, put up 53 against the New York Knicks. You had Karl Anthony Towns, unfortunately, against the San Antonio Spurs, dropped 60 points. And then the next day, you had Kyrie Irving against the Orlando Magic, dropped 60 points as well. So Karl Anthony Towns and Kyrie Irving are tied for the highest scoring outputs so far of this season. But we got about, I believe, 12, 13 games left in the season? I mean, like I said, the league is in good hands. You've got a good mix of veterans. Obviously, LeBron and KD, they've been around for a while. Kyrie, been around since 2011, 2012, if I'm not mistaken. So he's a vet as well. But I want to mention Jason Tatum. He's like 24, 25. You had Luka Doncic last month, as well as Ja Morant. They both put up 51 and 52, respectively. Back in January, you had Trae Young, who's incredibly young as well, 24, 25, put up 56 against the Portland Trailblazers. So, and I can't forget Giannis Antetokounmpo last month put up 50 against the Indiana Pacers on February 15th. So, just some incredible scoring outputs that I wanted to talk about. I definitely, people talk about, the difference now of, the NBA versus, how it used to be 70s, 80s, 90s basketball, and how they had games that were in the 70s, and now you've got games like, what was the other night? The Brooklyn Nets scored 150 points. I personally, don't get me wrong, I love good defense. As a Spurs fan, of course I love good defense, but I love to see, high scoring outputs. Love to see a guy just, go off. The basketball has an incredible way where one player truly can affect, one side of the floor, if not sometimes both, and we've seen that before. So with these scoring outputs, it's more entertaining. I don't know how, scoring is more entertaining than defense, objectively speaking. Now, like I said, if you're a student of the game, of course, defense can be beautiful to watch. Don't get me wrong. But everybody likes to see, high scoring outputs. I don't care who you are. But I just wanted to highlight that. I wanted to highlight some of those high-end scoring totals that we've seen over the past month. But not a whole lot of news coming out from the NBA this week. I did want to talk about unfortunate news coming out of Golden State. Steph Curry, Warriors guard, out indefinitely with a sprained ligament in his left foot. So unfortunately, according to The Athletic's Shams Charania, X-rays after the Warriors game against the Boston Celtics on Wednesday did not reveal any fractures or significant structural damage, which is very good. Article says that Curry will see specialists, and there's optimism that he will be available to play when the playoffs begin. So this happened late in the second quarter, just the other day, in that Golden State-Boston game where Boston beat Golden State in the Chase Center. Marcus Smart was going for a loose ball and collided with Curry as the Celtics guard dove on the floor for a loose ball. Curry had to check out of the game and did not return. Now, in the loss, Coach Steve Kerr called Marcus Smart's dive dangerous and expressed his displeasure directly to Marcus Smart during the game. And I quote, he says, "He's a hell of a player, gamer, and competitor. I coached him in the World Cup a few summers ago. Talked about the game and we're good, but I thought it was a dangerous play." Now, we know Steph Curry has, a long history of ankle issues. Part of the reason why he didn't get, a max extension after his rookie deal was up because of his ankle history. But he has been relatively healthy ever since then. But, the Warriors don't mess around when it comes to their golden boy, which, I understand. Like, Steph Curry, can't injure Steph Curry. That's a lot of revenue for the league. But there's a lot of optimism that, he is going to be back for the playoffs. Thankfully, it is not anything super serious with x-rays especially being negative. That is a good sign. So a speedy recovery wished for Steph Curry. I want to see Steph Curry in the playoffs, back with Clay and Draymond. They played one game together. One game. And then Steph Curry gets hurt. So hopefully I wish him well, and hopefully he is back. Hopefully he is back for the playoffs. But let's get into the last segment for the day. Let's talk about our marquee matchups. So last weekend went out of 3 games, 2-1, not too bad. I correctly picked the Mavs beating the Rockets. I picked the Nuggets beating the Raptors. Raptors ended up winning that game. But then I also picked the Nets beating the Knicks, which wasn't much of a stretch, but it is what it is. So that brings my current season total to 27-16. So this weekend I've got 3 games, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, in that order that I want to highlight and make sure that you guys check out for marquee matchups. So in addition to all of your NCAA tournament March Madness goodness. So Friday's game, I've got 2 conference powerhouses, the Phoenix Suns and the Chicago Bulls. I'm going to pick the Phoenix Suns to beat the Bulls in that one. I've got the Dallas Mavericks and the Charlotte Hornets going head-to-head in an interconference matchup as well. I've got the Dallas Mavericks beating them. And then the game that I'm actually going to be in person this Sunday, Memphis will be here in Houston taking on the Rockets. And I'm going to pick the Memphis Grizzlies to win that game because why not? It'll be fun. But I'll be cheering for the Rockets. They're the hometown team. Don't get me wrong. But for the sake of marquee matchups, I am going to pick the Memphis Grizzlies to beat them. But ladies and gentlemen, that is all the show I have for you folks today. Like I said, the show is a little bit shorter than it normally is, mostly because I want to get back to watching the NCAA tournament. But I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Like I say every single week, if you are watching, like, share, subscribe. If you are listening, do all the same. If you could follow the channel on socials at Another Turnover, whether that's Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, I always forget what socials I'm on. I would greatly appreciate it. I hope you have a wonderful and safe weekend. Cannot wait to talk more basketball next week. Take care, and I will see you on Friday.
Got hits when they throwing the fastball. Just too quick for it. Peeling off like the whip orange. Seen they effort, this piss poor. I got too much I gotta tend to. Car payments and the rent due. Told y'all that I'm 6 foot, but with the money statement, I'm 10-2. Too much that I've been through, so I put it all in that rear view. Clean money in a black whip. Got old problems with the friends new. Yeah, I'm in the big leagues. Told her don't miss me.